Hello everyone, welcome back to a new tutorial in Cinema4D and Redshift. So in this tutorial, I'm going to kind of replicate this beautiful image. So probably you have seen this before. It's a famous image, and I'm trying to make this uh, a 3D space into Cinema 4D using cloners and using Alembic, which is a new powerful tool in Cinema 4D. Uh, Before you were able absolutely to import Alembic files. For those they don't know what Alembic is, so there are different type of 3D files that you can bake the animation in, like FBX. So Alembic is one of them, which is pretty light, it's not heavy, and also you are able to adjust some parameters like speed of the animation or offset keyframes, which is really cool, and we are going to get benefits from these options. So I'm using Alembic files uh, just as a unit, and then use cloner into Cinema 4D using different effectors to make these steps. And also I'm using some simple modeling pipelines in Cinema 4D to create the whole shape of the step. So, and eventually I'm rendering this with Redshift. So let's see how we can figure it out. All right, so in Cinema 4D, as you see, this is the 3D model that I purchased from a great website called CG Trader. So if you just type CG Trader, there are different resources, online resources that you can get your 3D model. To be honest, you don't need to model everything, because these days there are a lot of thousand online models which great modelers did that before, and you can easily just download them. So there are thousand 3D models here on this website. I just used the animated crow here. You can find whatever you want anyway. And as you see here, I just downloaded this model. It comes with texture, and I bake it with Alembic file. So you see this is the simple animation, and it's loop, which is really good, and also it has texture. So, and just so you know, this is the icon that you see when you import any Alembic files, this little A, right next to it. So let's start the process. I have this, let me just delete this for now. So I have the unit, right? So first of all, we need to use a cloner. I create a cloner here, put this under the cloner, and then you see I have 3 bird, not 1. So I can change this direction to, let's say, something like this, put it to 30, and now I have 3 birds in x-axis. So I add more. Let's say for this image, for example, we have something like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, let's say 20, something around 20. So I make 20 birds, and let's see how it works. Okay, so we do have all the animations, right? Okay, so if I'm going to make some, random, because right now they are all like each other, it's not cool. So to make that happen, you can select the cloner, go to the MoGraph effector, create a random effector. By random effector, by default, it has some position. I turn it off, select the scale, uniform scale, something like 0.1. You see I have different sizes now, and add a little bit rotation. So let's say something like 15 or maybe 30. Okay, this is cool. Second step is to make different timing so they have exactly one timing. How can I make that happen? So to do that, in order to do that, you can duplicate different, you see, different Alembic files. I'm gonna put all of them under the cloner, and then I would change the cloner from iterate to random. Now I would change these parameters, the speed and offset. So let's say for this one, put 200 and offset, let's say, I don't know, -50. This one 400, -100. So 150, offset -20, and I would leave it 100, or just change this to 180, for example. Just some random parameters, you know. So this one I would just change the speed. Make sure you do have all different speeds. Okay, so let's see that now. You see, they all have different speed, which is cool. But the only issue right now I have, they stop. You see, some of them stop if there are certain frames. So another cool feature about Alembic files, I can select all of them and change the mode to loop. So by this way, they continue the animation forever. That's so cool, right? Okay, so let's see if I want to create the animation of the I'm sorry, create the step. So just make sure they have the animation. Cool. All right, and also I can set these to instance, render instance. It will be really easier in the viewport. All right, so let's select the cloner, MoGraph effector. If I select a step, this is what happened. You see, so I'm gonna turn off the scale, which is on by default, turn on the position, and start to have a different position. So look at that, it starts to show that. But as you see, I have this, you see, a spline shape or curve shape. So I'm gonna put everything on top and then select the step. Make sure you set it to linear. So I select the whole spline and change from spline to linear. There we go. I'm sorry. Okay, so now just to double check again, you see it has a intense incline, so I can change this to something maybe way more than this. And then also you can now change this. Okay, so I can change this, I can change this. Make sure you don't have, when they play, you know, the animation, you don't have any intersection. All right, this is so cool. Awesome. Now it's time to create the this step. So before that, let me just save the file. I would just save this file in one of my YouTube videos, Cinema4D. I would call it birds on a step, and copy, give it to Cinema4D underline version 101, save. Awesome. All right, so now I'm gonna create the step. To create that, this is my pipeline, this is my way. I would like to use spline to create that. So in order to do that, let's see how we can adjust the scene to you know, make it easier. If I create a cube, this is the size of the cube, and compared to this just one cube, these bears are really tiny, right? So I can make the whole thing bigger. So if I scale this cloner, this is what happened, right? So one way, let's see if I change the object. Yeah, so change this model to object mode. Then if you scale it, exactly scale all the parameters and don't change it. Okay, so the reason actually I did that, why I changed that, I would like to use this grid you know, as a guide to create the step. This is why I rescaled that. So for now I'm just gonna leave it, start to create that. So let's see, each of these would be the step, right? So it will be something like this, let's say. All right, and absolutely we can adjust it later. So let's see how it works. I'm gonna save it again, create, so start with this spline, and then I change this from Bezier to linear. All right, so let's start to create step. So I would love to snap it. To do that, you can turn on a snap here and make sure you do have work plane snap and also grid point snap. And as you see, it snapped to the point. So I start to just create this really easy like this. And don't worry about the height and the length of this step, because absolutely you can, you know, rescale it after you create that. So let me make sure I do have enough steps here. Oh, we have a lot of birds here, and oops, that's a lot. Okay, I think we should have less or fewer birds. Okay, but just to make sure I have enough, you know, room for my render region. Okay, I think that's enough. And now we can, you see this is here, I can select this one here, here, and here. Awesome. So now I created this spline. I would get back to this and make sure I have this beautiful spline, right? Okay, so let's see how we can, and that's a little tricky. We need to adjust the space between the birds to make sure it's they perfectly sit on the step. So I would create a loft, put this spline under the loft. Now I have this. Let me turn off the grid for now. Awesome. I can control and left click to duplicate this thing. All right, so now I just duplicate that. So why it didn't give me the correct result? Because I believe we don't have enough subdivisions. So let's see if as you see, I increase the subdivision. Now I have these steps. Awesome. So let's try to put them, you know, perfectly on these steps. I can, you know, for one of them, make sure this one is sitting on this one. All right, so let's start playing with you can play with the spline, or you can play with this distance. So first of all, it should be a little higher, and I think let's say I put this here, you know, here. Okay, now the issue, so for example, I have this intersection. I think to the distance, say to the sake of distance, it works really good. But the issue we have now is this intersection. So to fix that, probably we need to have smaller birds, I think. So let's see if I in transform change the scale to 0.6.6.6, let's say, for example. Then it gives me something like that, but you know, it's not as beautiful as this image. So as you see, the size of this, to compare the size and the birds. Okay, so this will be a little tricky. Let me get back to the scale, because I think this scale is the scale that works for us, but how we can fix this? All right, so probably we need to adjust this distance. Let's see. And in this one, I scale it. Let's get back to the reference. So the height is more than, okay, and I think, yeah, this can be bigger, the whole steps, I believe. So let's say all right. So I think it works much better, but I don't know why we do have this distance. Maybe if I change it to 3.1, oops, 2.9, right? It's much better. Awesome. Okay, let's see that from this angle. I can save it again, and then let's put them here. Awesome. So I think it's kind of cool right now, but for some of them, you see we do have this issue. So probably it should be fine, but I would love to have them a little bigger also, maybe 1.2, something like this. Yeah, I think this is prettier. All right, so now you see I do have all these cool birds, and if I compare it to this one, this looks really, really cool. So I can change the crop. Let me change the crop here. And in this render setting, if I open up, put it to Redshift, I'm not gonna start the render now, but let's change the crop to something that we like for example, let's say 600 to 800. All right, and then in order to see this crop better, you can go to edit project setting mode, view setting. In the view, change this 10% to something like 60%. All right, and I can create a camera here, Redshift, the standard camera, make sure you select the camera. So in this image, I can absolutely, you know, dig into it, find this image source online, and probably you should find it on 500 peaks or something like that. and find the camera information. But this camera, I think, is something maybe like, I don't know, maybe let's say 120 millimeters. So if I change this to 120 millimeters, you see, then I get some cool result like this. Awesome. So if I compare these two, probably it's less than, so let's say 85 maybe. All right, and I can change this because you see we don't see any depths of the steps, so the angle should be something like this. The angle is not like this, so make sure you get the correct angle. And and the other thing is to start from here to here, and I can do something like so. The whole crop is, you know, is a little different. These steps has, I think, more, you know, intense incline, but it's fine. All right, so I will leave it something like this, and let's play that. Awesome. As you see, I have steps, I have the animation, and each one sitting on you know, the correct position. For some of them, you may have some, you know, interest. So for example, this one, as you see. So maybe for some of them, you know, just to correct the one I have issue. And also it's cool to have some randomness. So in order to do that, I can select the cloner. Let's say I have intersection just in this one or this one, right? But I see, you know, some of them has this intersection. So maybe, so first of all, I think I can have more distance here. Something around 34, I think it's called 33.7. Awesome. So this works much better, but if you want to, you know, have control on a specific node, you can select the cloner, MoGraph, and then MoGraph selection. Then let's say, for example, I select this, and then MoGraph plane effector. So I have control just on this one, you see, and I can play this one. I can even rotate that, and I can scale it. Let's say make it a little bigger, or even maybe let's say -2. Okay, so you see now it looks really cool. Awesome. So yeah, this is the whole, actually the whole process. So I can create the preview to make sure it works perfectly. Just go to make preview, set to hardware, and something like 960. Let's see how it works. So it just need couple of few seconds to calculate that, because, you know, there is nothing crazy running into our viewport, so it should be pretty fast. You see this green bar, it shows you it's going fast forward. Awesome. So now if I play that, this is the animation we have. Awesome. So you can also create a camera, you know, slightly zoom in or zoom out, or any, let's say, handshake camera if you want. It can add some, you know, grade motion to your scene. It will be depend on your artistic vision completely. So I would leave it to you, but for this tutorial I'm gonna jump on Redshift setting to, you know, to make it shorter and more useful for you. So let's see, if I turn on render setting, make sure you set the renderer to Redshift, select the Redshift, make sure you have enough GI. Usually I use brute force with irradiance point cloud, or both brute force. And for a start, I would check the material override just to see how my light works. So if I go to render view and hit the render button, Okay, so this doesn't work. Probably let me close my layout, open render view and render. Okay, so this is what we have for now. So this also will be, you know, totally depend on your artistic vision. If you want to render it, let's say in, for example, I don't know, in sunlight, you know, daylight, or you want to render some stylish, you know, render view. So it completely depends on you, but I can show you different type of lighting. So one of them absolutely would be sunlight. So you can click on Redshift, go to Object, Redshift Sun and Sky Rig, and you can easily see that. See, it's pretty cool. It's fast, and probably I need to adjust the camera, you know, just to get rid of that line. So also here I can select the sun and play with the rotation. So let's see if I rotate the sun, what happened. You see that these shadows start to show you. So yeah, you can, you know, play with that and get different look and feel. So another cool thing that I think, you know, we need to have those details on the steps. You see these black things, it's so cool to have. So let's see how we can create that. You know, I would love to change this to standard. Make sure you see all the details you should. All right, so here I'm gonna create those things. So the cool thing about cloners is that we can use the exact same cloner in order to make this happen. So to add enough space for that, I can select these SP lines and then select vertices. So let me select these vertices here. Or you know what? So maybe easier way, just create a cube. Let me create one of those. All right, so let's see. I think it should be a little smaller, and it should be a little smaller to this size. Okay, I think it's cool now. You just need to, so you have different ways to create that, but I can duplicate by control click, duplicate the cloner, delete all these birds, put the cube under the cloner, and as you see it start to show. So make sure you set it to the same scale, and also let me turn off this one and this one for now. Okay, so here should be a smaller. The reason actually we get a different result, because if you remember, we scaled the whole thing. So here we scaled it. You see that this is now 4 4 4, and these steps are a little different. So let's see if I rescale this. This is helpful. Awesome. So you may need to, you know, put these birds a little upper. So I can select this cloner and then readjust this one by one number, and then here let's see if I, okay, let's adjust. Okay, so I'm gonna control Z instead of changing number and that. You can also, you know, select the whole cloner and put that just upper. Awesome. So this cloner also has some intersection. I would put it here and here, and this one, make sure you put this here. Awesome. If I get back to this, let me change the shading. Awesome, this is what I like. And then make sure it's not too much, you know, outside of this. It should be some little cool distance. And also you can, so you see there is intersection between these, so maybe you need to make sure you do have this smaller, you know, should be something like this maybe. Oops. And put this here. Make sure, you know, there is no intersection. Okay, just a little tad smaller. That's cool. Okay, I think should be a little bigger. And put it here. Awesome. So you can also here create a fillet, you know, to make the little smoother. So maybe for radius put something like 0.9, and yeah, that 5, I think it's enough. Awesome. So now this is really cool, and I would just make them a little more toward outside, and also put them here. So let's see the image again. Yeah, I think it's fine. Maybe, you know what, should be a little bigger, I believe. Okay, let's try that again and put it here. Awesome. Okay, so let's save that again, get back to the angle we had before, and let's see if I go to the render view again and hit the render button. So you see these details is really cool now, and I can change the camera angle a little. Awesome. So this is really cool. You know, if you want to get kind of similar look and feel you have here, you can. So absolutely, I need to turn off the material override. So create my material. I just create a redshift material here, assign the material, and then double click on the material, and I would create a noise. I would create a bump, assign the noise to the bump. It's pretty straightforward. Assign this to the overall bump, and then make sure you have enough complexity and frequency. So you see it start to show that. You can also add some distortion, and you know, I think that's too much. Oh, that's too much. Okay, so, and also the scale, maybe I change the scale, make sure I, you know, get the result that I want. So you can also change this number to get the result. Also make sure you get the color you want. You can add some cool backlighting if you want to something like that. So let's see, maybe 4 to have a strong result. This is really cool, I think. Awesome. So this is pretty cool, and I think, yeah, you know, I have the texture here. You can also, you know, change the reflection, change all the parameters
to
that
make those
you have on the
material.
on the material.
Here,
So
what I'm trying to
yeah, here is what I, you know, is the result. But if I'm gonna replicate exactly the things, you see I have a darker color for these uh, steps. So yeah, I just duplicate the material, and then you can easily change the, so I assign the material to the cloner, and then here I change the material diffuse to some darker color. You see that here it start to show in the render view. I love Redshift because it's so fast. And so yeah, you see you can create different background if you want, just like this image, but here also you are able to play with the sun direction. So let's see how it reacts if we uh, rotate the sun direction. So you see it start to get these cool shadows, which is pretty cool. It adds extra details to your render as well, and it would be really cool if you can, you know, you can show the animated shadows as well. So let me just adjust the material here to get a better reflection. And this is the default material on the 3D model I got. So you see I didn't convert it, but I just show you can quickly convert that to Redshift material in Material Manager. And yeah, you see now when they move, the shadow moves, and this is cool. So the only thing here I'm not happy with is the harsh shadow. So you are able to change the shadow. I believe it's here in it should be in sun. Yeah, you see the shadow softness. You can easily change the softness by having a bigger number. So these soft shadows, you know, gives you a better result, but you need to make sure you have more intensity once you change the softness. And yeah, you can play with the light, you can play with the colors and different angles, and again, it will be totally depend on your artistic vision to get the result that you want. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and don't forget to comment your questions, and I will get back to you soon. Thanks.